So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the smallest anamorphic lens that you can get for your mirrorless camera. Okay, I really hope I'm in focus. So the lens in question is the Laowa Nanomorph 35mm t2.4. Now, Laowa was nice enough to send this to me to test out and review, but I'm not getting paid and all these opinions are gonna be my own. So what you're seeing me on right now is the Laowa 35mm t2.4 at t2.4 on my Panasonic GH3, which is a micro four thirds camera. And I think that this lens is a perfect match for micro four thirds cameras just because the cameras in and of themselves are typically really small, and so is this lens. So I have had some experience with anamorphic lenses in the past, but they were a 1.8 times squeeze, and this is a 1.5. So it's a little bit easier to work with when it comes to 16:9 footage. So I've actually shot all of this footage that you're seeing on a Panasonic GH3 just to really show that like sometimes the lens can actually make so much more of a difference than the camera body itself. There is something about shooting anamorphic that just makes everything look so good and of course cinematic. But one of the things that I love about this Laowa Nanomorph is that it's just so small, and so I don't have to think twice about whether or not I want to bring it to shoot some anamorphic footage because it's just such a small and lightweight lens when compared to a lot of the other anamorphic lenses on the market. So a couple of the things that I always look for in a lens is really how sharp it is wide open. And at t2.4, this isn't going to be tack sharp, especially not on the corners, but you're not really looking for that, especially on an anamorphic lens. It sometimes is a little bit harder to get critical focus, but even right now I'm shooting at t2.4 and it's really not that hard to keep your subject in focus even wide open on this lens. This is a 1.5x squeeze, so what you have to do when you're editing this footage is take the horizontal resolution of your video and then times that by 1.5, and then that's what you're gonna stretch your horizontal resolution out to get that de-squeezed anamorphic look. Now, the way that I'm doing it right now, just to make sure that I'm framed up properly, is I have my little OC on a little light stand, and that's what I'm kind of using just to monitor myself and make sure that I'm in focus and make sure that I'm framed right. Because at 35mm, I'm not really gonna be close enough to my camera to check focus on my LCD screen, and since this is a fully manual lens, unless I had a wireless follow focus, I wouldn't be able to manually focus on myself. So having a nice monitor that can de-squeeze your image for you, I would say is a must when you're shooting anamorphic. So these Laowa Nanomorphs are gonna come in a few different focal lengths, and they're gonna come in a blue streak or a gold streak when it comes to the flares. So if you can see right here, this is the gold streak version. You can see that there's gold streaks with this particular lens. But if you prefer the J.J. Abrams blue streaks, you have that option as well. I was able to go into the Columbia River Gorge, shoot a whole bunch of footage, and even take my camera, put it on a gimbal with this lens, and because it's so small, it was just so easy to balance. And so that's something that, you know, with a lot more bigger, more traditional anamorphic lenses, you wouldn't really be able to like throw them up on a gimbal very easily, but with these Laowa Nanomorphs, it works perfectly. I was able to balance everything on my little DJI Ronin SC, which to this day is such a great gimbal for the price. And I was able to get a bunch of footage that I was really happy with. But I would feel like I'm not taking advantage of the fact that this is an anamorphic lens without going out at night and shooting some night footage. So I went into the city and tried to find as many lights as I possibly could, just to get some of those signature anamorphic flares that everybody knows and loves. So one of the things that I love about this nanomorph, and honestly just anamorphic lenses in general, is just how larger than life everything feels once you get it back into your editor and de-squeeze it. Something that you'll notice about anamorphic lenses is that they actually give you a wider field of view than what the focal length would suggest. So on my Micro Four Thirds camera with a 2x crop factor, this 35mm you would expect to give you a 70mm equivalent field of view, but because it's an anamorphic lens, you actually get closer to like a 50mm equivalent field of view. So you get the characteristics of a 35mm lens, obviously, but the field of view is going to be a bit wider than what you're used to. One of the other things that I've really liked about this Laowa nanomorph is that all the footage that you've been seeing has been shot on 2 Panasonic GH3s, and I think that's just a testament to when you have a really good lens on a camera, it can like breathe new life into it. I've been really happy with the results that I've gotten with my older cameras paired with this Laowa nanomorph. I think it actually looks really good. So all in all, I was super impressed with these Laowa nanomorphs, and I would highly recommend them to anyone who wants to get into anamorphic shooting on their mirrorless camera, but doesn't want to have a huge piece of glass that they have to carry with them. These Laowa nanomorphs are a great introduction into the anamorphic world, and I think that if you're trying to keep your kit small, these are a no-brainer. I'm gonna have links to where you can find these Laowa nanomorphs in the description below. Big thanks to Laowa for sending me this lens to let me test it out and review it. And yeah, thanks to all of you for sticking through this whole video and watching it. I really appreciate it. But anyways, if you wanna watch more of my videos, you know the drill. You can click on each side of my face, and I'm not gonna do one of those abrupt endings because I just don't want to. Okay, bye.